Welcome everyone to BPM RealTalk show. My name is Bianca Kruger and I will be the host of the show. We really wanted to establish a platform where we could bring together BPM practitioners from all over the world to share their experiences and their journeys, their successes, but most importantly, their failures as well. Hence, we really started BPM Real Talk show. Our mission is to inspire, inform, and empower the community of BPM practitioners around the world. We are thrilled today to welcome Antionette Bostic. With over 24 years of experience, Antionette has led cross-functional teams to enhance their operational excellence, customer satisfaction, and business performance overall. We're really excited to have Antionette with us today. I'm going to hand over to Antionette now to give us a brief introduction of herself before we continue into today's topic. Over to you, Antionette.
Good morning. Thank you, Bianca. As Bianca said, my name is Antionette Bostic. I am founder and CEO of Tonality, Inc. Tonality is a management consulting company specializing in a few core capability areas, including operating model redesign, process optimization, change management, strategic planning, and implementation of AI, specifically ChatGPT-4. I spent about 24 years primarily in financial services as a transformation leader. Much of the work that I'm now doing within the context of my company is what I've done throughout my career. So I have worked in most regions of the world, developing internal consulting practices, deploying Six Sigma tools and methods, participating in mergers and acquisitions, leading process improvement initiatives, as well as operating model redesign initiatives. So have been in this space for quite some time. I'm excited to be kind of stepping out as an independent company and very excited to talk about my experience on today's show.
Great, thank you, Antionette. Sounds like very broad experience and a very fruitful over 2 decades that you've had. It's amazing to have you with us today. Today's topic is really something very interesting and a very trending topic at the moment, but also something I think, where we really want to bring that practical insights to the forefront. And I really think that is what we're going to achieve with this session today. So today we'll be discussing the power of transformative leadership in today's business world. Antionette, I'm going to get right into the first question. Can you assist us in defining what transformative leadership is and explain its core principles? I really do think that some of the audience and the viewers might really just want to at first understand what are those core principles for transformative leadership.
Sure, absolutely. And I'm going to use the term transformational interchangeable to transformative because I think that's a term that more folks are familiar with. So I would say transformational leadership is really a leadership approach that inspires and motivates employees. It inspires them to innovate and to drive change within their organizations. Transformation leaders are typically able to achieve this by articulating a compelling vision that inspires and motivates employees. They will encourage innovation and creativity through challenging existing norms and assumptions. You know, the whole adage, this is how we've always done things, tends to be challenged. They will also provide personalized support and coaching and mentorship to employees. And then they'll act as role models. So they will walk the talk, which ultimately helps to earn the trust and respect of their team. I think more traditional leadership models tend to be more transactional in nature. They tend to focus more on routine, regimented sort of daily management activities. Rewards are oftentimes based on outcomes, not necessarily on how those outcomes were achieved, which I think makes a very distinct difference with transformative leadership or transformational leadership, which also takes into account, not just what you achieved, but how you achieved it. So I think, transformational leaders are really about fostering an environment of continuous growth and development, both for the individual and for the organization.
Perfect. It sounds like it's very much a hand-on approach then, definitely.
Uh, much
Is
much more hands-on, I think, than traditional
yes.
styles of leadership. Yes.
Definitely. Is there any specific qualities that a transformative leader need to possess? Like from your perspective, is there any specific qualities that you can mention to us?
Sure. So I think you want someone who is a visionary thinker, someone who's able to set a clear and compelling direction for the organization, someone who's adaptable, someone who's able to be flexible and open to change, both internal and external to the organization, an empathetic leader, someone who can put themselves in someone else's shoes, is able to understand and address the needs and concerns of employees, and actually cares in an authentic way about the experience that individuals are having as they go through the change process. And then I think communication is critical. Having a vision without the ability to convey that vision is really useless. I think having the ability to convey the vision and then foster open dialogue as well is critical. And in order to do that, I think you need a leader who's really curious and humble enough to be able to promote open discussion and feedback. I would also say you want someone who is resilient. Change is difficult. Someone who has the tenacity and the ability to persist through challenges and setbacks is critical. And then I'd say lastly, inspirational. You want an inspirational leader, someone who can motivate and engage employees, and energize folks towards achievement of a common goal. So visionary, adaptability, empathetic, strong communicator, resilient, and someone who inspires. Those would be the core qualities.
Absolutely. Taking into consideration, Antionette, those qualities, I think that's very important going into the next question then. How does transformative leadership drive process improvement within organizations? Because I think that is something that the audience would really like to understand.
Mhm.
What differences are there between the transformative leadership in process improvement versus traditional ways? If you can just mention some of those from first-hand experience that you have had before.
So I would say transformational leadership or transformative leadership drives process improvement really by fostering an environment of continuous improvement. And when you foster an environment of continuous improvement where you're encouraging employees to set stretch targets, to constantly review and evaluate the work that they do, and look for better ways of doing things, that looking for better ways of doing things really encourages innovation. So I think the core here is transformative leaders within an organization that are focused on process optimization are oftentimes focused on both continuous improvement and innovation as a part of that continuous improvement. These type of leaders will typically encourage employees to question existing processes, seek out new, more efficient methods of doing things. By promoting continuous improvement, transformative leaders empower employees to think more creatively about the work that they do and to take ownership of that work, to really see themselves as owning the process and having the power to be able to make appropriate changes to enhance performance. So I think, that's really the core of how transformative leadership supports process optimization.
That makes absolute sense. And I think, going into the next question is probably very similar to what you've just mentioned. But
Mhm.
we would like to understand, is there an example that you can share with us throughout your career where transformative leadership has led to significant process improvements in some of the projects that you've worked with before throughout your career? Maybe there's a specific example that you can share with the audience. Just for them to
Certainly.
get an idea.
Certainly. And, without obviously sharing details, too many details,
Yes.
um, at a mid-size tech company that I'm familiar with, the CEO of that company embraced transformational leadership principles to help revitalize the company's outdated product development process. He did this by fostering an open culture of innovation, by encouraging employees at all levels to contribute ideas, by creating transparency, both through communication as well as through establishing, clear performance measures. The company was able to streamline its development process, reduce cost, and then also significantly improve the product quality. Just to give you more specifics, some of the changes included things like establishing innovation teams to work more closely with customers to gather feedback throughout the design process. They also incorporated idea screening, which is a step early in the process that's critical to avoid wasting time and money on poor ideas later in the process. They also deployed a common technology platform that helped the entire organization visualize the product development path and help them more efficiently navigate through those steps. And then lastly, they incorporated rapid prototyping and co-creation as well. Ultimately, all of these changes resulted in about a 30% increase in customer satisfaction and a 20% reduction in time to market for new products, which is huge. So that for me is really an ideal example of how transformational leadership has really helped a company move the needle quite significantly.
Thanks for sharing that, Antionette. I think sharing that specific metric as well just gives another view for the audience as well. Thank you for sharing that. And it just once again shows the common theme from a top-down approach when it comes to continuous improvement, etc. Antionette, earlier you mentioned the qualities of a transformative leader and driving change being one of them. Going into the next question, I want to understand how can a transformative leader effectively manage resistance to change? Because I think that is something that would most probably still come up, even though it's one of the qualities for a transformative leader. How would they approach the resistance to change, and what steps would they take in that specific scenario?
So, resistance to change is obviously a common challenge in any organization. There are a few different things I think transformational leaders can do. The first thing that is absolutely critical is to communicate a vision. Being able to clearly explain the reasons for change and how it aligns with the company's goals and strategies is key. Giving folks a sense for why are we changing? What's kind of the case behind the change, and how does it affect me at an individual level? So I think communicating that vision and taking steps to really help folks understand the practical impact is important. Build trust. I think, trust can be built in a variety of ways, but one of the key ways for a transformational leader to build trust is through transparency. Create an environment where communication is open. Create opportunities for folks to provide feedback, whether it's formal or informal. And really, taking a fact-based approach to understanding how the change is impacting the organization. So I think putting in place the appropriate metrics to understand what does success look like, and then also understand how folks are experiencing the change also supports transparency, which ultimately leads to, I think, greater trust in the organization. Consistency is key as well. So, putting in place the appropriate tracking mechanisms, the appropriate governance and oversight to make sure that the organization understands there is a commitment to creating transparency and to open dialogue as the organization is moving through the change. I think there's a few other things that I think are critical. Involving employees. Engaging employees in the change process by seeking their input, addressing their concerns. It doesn't cost us anything as leaders to sit down and have an open dialogue. To talk with our managers and our frontline employees to understand their perspective, address any fears or concerns they have. And then I would say lead by example. That's critical, always critical. Act as a role model. By embracing the change yourself, demonstrate what the positive impact looks like. People tend to follow leaders who practice what they preach. So, we absolutely need to walk the talk. And then there's a couple other things I'll mention. I think provide support and resources. You can alleviate a lot of fears by offering the necessary resources, training, and support to help employees adapt to change. And then lastly, I would say celebrate success. Recognize, take the time to really reflect, to understand kind of where you are in your change process, how things are going, what's working, what's not working. Have that willingness to take that feedback and use that to course correct if you need to. And then also on the back end, celebrate your success, right? So, recognizing folks that are doing good work, it helps to build the momentum. It helps to keep, reinforcing the benefits of the change. So I would say those are really the core things.
Absolutely. Thanks, Antionette, for that. And I really think, to the audience listening to this, those are really valuable insights to take into consideration if this is a challenge in your organizations regarding change management. So thanks, Antionette, for that. Lastly, Antionette, I would like to find out what advice would you have to leaders who are still following a traditional way that haven't transformed into this way of leadership, and what would your advice be for those leaders?
Sure. So, just to summarize a lot of what we have already talked about, and I'll go into a bit more detail on a few of these pieces, but I think my advice would be make sure that you have taken the time to really think through where you are going. Understand where you're headed. Don't expect employees to follow you, to a destination unknown. So that clarity of vision is critical. Whether we're talking about a team, a department, a division, a business unit, a region, etc. Understanding that organization's mission and values and being able to articulate a clear vision for its future, I think is really a critical first step for transformation leaders. Build strong relationships. We do our work through people. So it's important to really understand the value of connecting with people in an authentic way, cultivating trust and rapport, and doing this across the board with, folks up and down the chain, employees, your peers, as well as some of your key stakeholders. And then I would also encourage innovation. Work with your staff to foster a culture where creativity and innovation are encouraged and rewarded. And I want to say rewarded because I think that's really important to not only help employees understand the importance of innovation within the organization, but also help them understand what it looks like. If you're in a company where innovation has not always been a common theme, maybe it's been relegated to certain departments, but it hasn't been a broad theme in the company. It's important to help, I think, employees understand what do we mean by innovation. So taking the time to acknowledge, changes that have been made, innovative ideas that have been implemented, whether it's something small scale, a process improvement idea, or whether it's something much more transformative, some sort of technology, implementation, or something that changes the overall kind of structure of the company. Helping folks get a glimpse into what we mean by innovation and what are the types of ideas that we consider to be innovative, I think is also an important piece. So acknowledging and rewarding those innovative ideas is critical. Invest in personal growth. I think, continuously seeking opportunities for self-improvement and learning is critical for any leader. When we stop learning, we stop growing. I think sometimes leaders have the impression that they're expected to have all the answers and that they don't need development. Everyone needs development. Part of your development is also soliciting feedback on how change is affecting the organization. So being able to understand how you're performing, how your leadership team is performing, across the organization, I think is critical. So that sort of feedback ultimately leads to hopefully enhancements in performance, and self-improvement opportunities as well. So taking the time to get that feedback and then use that to invest in your own personal growth, I think is critical. Lead by example. Again, show the behaviors, demonstrate the behaviors and the values that you want to see within your team. And then a couple other things. Be resilient and adaptable. Stay flexible and resilient in the face of challenges and setbacks. We can count on the fact that change is constant. So we need to be able to adapt as quickly as possible in order to thrive. And then lastly, I would say, and I mentioned before, take time to reflect and celebrate success. Remember, change is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, and change fatigue is a real thing. And I think one of the ways we can help combat that change fatigue is by reflecting and assessing how can we improve and grow as individuals and as a team. In addition, acknowledging and celebrating achievements along the way, no matter how small, I think this will help maintain momentum and drive continued progress towards your vision. So those are really, I think, the core pieces of advice I would give any transformation leader that is seeking to, make change not just sustainable, but also drive change in a way that's more healthy for the organization.
Perfect. Thanks, Antionette. So these are really powerful insights that you've shared with the audience, and I'm really sure that everyone is going to take this in. And yes, thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, I'm more than welcome to get in touch with us, and we'll raise those through to Antionette as well. I think we've reached our 22-minute mark, so I'm going to conclude now. Thank you everyone for listening today. We are grateful for you being here. As always, stay connected to BPM Real Talk. Please subscribe, like, comment, stay in touch for future episodes. We have many episodes upcoming with BPM practitioners, like we said, all around the world. Thank you, Antionette, for being here today, for your time and your insights shared. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.